What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Alexander Povetkin. Get this, Alexander Povetkin sees unfinished business with Deontay, the Bronze Bomber, Wilder. In a Seconds Out interview yesterday, he revealed that he had unfinished business with Deontay Wilder due to the fact that they're supposed to fight back in 2016, I believe, when Deontay Wilder flew to Russia to take on the challenger, the former WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Alexander Povetkin. Okay, so because the backstory on that, Povetkin popped dirty from a banned substance that was already banned, and then after the fact that it was banned, he tested positive for it. And I think he had it in his system before it actually actually was banned, and then he had it in his system. So by default, it was kind of hard for him to clear up the fact that he wasn't taking anything. Okay, but the reason they didn't fight was because of that. It got real nasty. It got real murky. It was a lot of lawyers involved because Deontay Wilder was suing for the fact that he had to fly him and his camp over for expenses, and I guess how much the fight would have been had he fought Alexander Povetkin. Okay, so that was real nasty. Povetkin's name was smeared in the mud for the longest time, if you guys can remember. But, of course, by a couple years later, he was fighting Anthony Joshua for all 3 belts because he was mandatory on the WBA side. So, that being said, he went on with the rest of his career. He got knocked out by Anthony Joshua. He drawed with Michael Hunter, and he knocked out Dillian Whyte. Okay, and that's pretty much the fights he's fought with lately. He's beat guys like an older Hasim Rahman and, David Price and those guys, by brutal knockouts. Okay, so he does get the job done. Now, him saying that he has unfinished business with Wilder only leads me to believe that Wilder is a target for him if he can get past Dillian Whyte tomorrow, okay? Because that's going to be a fight that's very high stakes. Because it's almost like winner takes the next step to championship supremacy or a championship opportunity. And if Alexander Povetkin can beat Dillian Whyte, it would say that he's not finished in the sport of boxing at all. That says that he should keep going. He should keep wanting to fight the best guys, and I would love to see Deontay Wilder and Alexander Povetkin. Better yet, I would love to see the shits 5-6 years ago. Well, 5 years ago, okay? So I would love to see that particular fight take place. I would. Because who would have knew if Deontay Wilder could do what he's done to everybody else? Maybe he would have. Maybe he wouldn't have. Who knows? He would have done something, but we don't know what it would have been. However, Deontay Wilder fighting Alexander Povetkin, I think that should be a fight that have to be made if Dillian Whyte gets beat again tomorrow. I think that he should fight. I think both the winners should take all, okay? And whoever wins between those two guys are just waiting really for the mega fest to end between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua if that fight comes together completely, okay? Now, I see a hell of a fight in the making with both guys, and I like the idea of Alexander Povetkin calling Deontay out, because that's something we haven't heard from in a long time, even though that situation, I think, made a lot of people bitter, especially Team Wilder. Because remember, guys, after that, if you guys don't know, Deontay Wilder vowed not to fight anyone else that popped dirty in his career. That's why at the time when Luis Ortiz popped dirty for the first time, not the second when he got popped with the blood pressure medicine. He got popped before, okay? And Deontay Wilder said that he would never fight Ortiz because he's a cheater and he doesn't fight cheaters. This is all documented, people. But he eventually ended up fighting him in 2018. Okay, fair enough. If Alexander Povetkin can knock out Dillian Whyte, okay, that means you should have a change of heart as well. Counterpunch. Because you said you would never fight Luis Ortiz, so you need to do and go back on your word and renege like you did with him and fight Povetkin. Because Povetkin is the guy that he should have fought, is a guy that I think Deontay Wilder wanted on his resume. Why? Because he was a former champ. And he only got beat one time, and that was to Vladimir Klitschko, and everyone knew the impact that Klitschko had on the heavyweight division, especially back in 15 and 16. Okay? So that should tell you a lot about that particular fight. You know, and I always say, just like Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, better late than never. Okay, so I think that fight could definitely happen, especially if Povetkin wins. Because if he wins, you know his stock will rise. And Deontay Wilder, his job should be, hey, let's knock him off his momentum. Let's take away that stock and make it our own. And I'm like, hey, why not? Look, here's the thing. Everyone is rivals with everyone, but we have a lot of talking and with not enough fighting, right? And we know Dillian Whyte and Deontay Wilder don't get along. We know Dillian Whyte and Ruiz don't get along, okay? We know the backstory between Deontay Wilder and Alexander Povetkin. Okay, so if Alexander Povetkin can take out a rival of another rival, right? That's one less rival to worry about. You know, and everybody, people believe in triangle theories. I don't, but the most of casuals do. So from a casual standpoint, if Povetkin knocks out Dillian Whyte, that wouldn't be the next fight people want Deontay Wilder to see. Why? If I was Deontay Wilder's handlers, I was like, okay, let's go after Povetkin. You know, you got to start knocking these guys out. Then you got to win over Ortiz twice and Povetkin. If you can knock Povetkin out, then that takes the momentum away from Povetkin, because Dillian Whyte takes a huge backseat. Okay? And if he can do that, the first thing people are going to say from a casual standpoint, hey, you know what? Dillian Whyte wouldn't have a chance against Deontay Wilder because Dillian Whyte was knocked out by Povetkin, and then he beat Povetkin. So by default, he must be better. That's the mentality. But from a casual mindset, I believe that at the end of the day, those guys will that will make Wilder's stock rise, because he would be it would be him, Klitschko, and Joshua, the top fighters of the last 5-10 years. You know, and that's a small group of people that had that type of success with Alexander Povetkin. But if Povetkin can do something magnificent, knock out Wilder, he'll not only take Dillian Whyte out of the picture, but he'd also take Deontay Wilder out of the picture. Because they see at this point, neither fighter at this point, DW or DW, can afford to lose. Dillian Whyte can't afford to lose and still stay where he's at. He goes way back to somewhere else at that point. And he won't be in any serious fight for a very long time. That's if he decides to continue fighting. Deontay Wilder, the same thing. If he gets beat and gets beat up by Povetkin, old as he is, his stock will fall all the way down to the rock bottom. And then his minions would have to make another narrative to say Alexander Povetkin cheated once again Deontay Wilder because he has a reputation of cheating. You know the whole story, and you know what people will say, how they'll try to spin it. It'll all happen, people. However, Alexander Povetkin sees unfinished business with Deontay Wilder. It seems like a very possible, intriguing fight. That's if Alexander Povetkin can do the same thing he did last year to Dillian the Body Snatcher Whyte. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Alexander Povetkin seeing unfinished business with Deontay Wilder. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.